Welcome to ESVN, the Emma Sports Vigeland Network show. My name is Emma Vigeland, and the Knicks have won a playoff game. Just a reminder, put on push notifications for this channel, youtube.com/ESVN show. Subscribe. Like the stream. We get into the algorithm. Comment, participate in the chat, tweet it out, send it out on social media. And rate us 5 stars if you're listening on a podcast platform. Hello, everybody, and hello to my co-host and producer, Bradley Alsop.
Anything going on?
A little bit. So, I mean, first of all, good job on the hat. Can't say I feel the same about your Kyle Palmieri jersey, but I do love the like. Hockey jerseys are the most ridiculously expensive items out there, and staying updated on your team in terms of like who's on it and who's not is quite difficult.
I do not have a single besides the most recent Knicks jersey I purchased. I have not had like a relevant jersey in like 10 to 12 years.
I mean, it's honestly a good way like to show your spirit and also be on a budget is to get some of the outdated jerseys on sale.
I got this 8 years ago.
Well, I mean, I'm lucky here because I got this for Christmas from my stepdad, who's a very nice man. This is a Capo Caco jersey. So based on the rules of who cares about their team, more recently, I think the Rangers have a better shot in this series if we're going by that rule of magical thinking.
Yeah, you question my dedication because Kyle Palmieri is on the Islanders now?
Well, I mean, I can't believe that they got so lucky in that playoff matchup, and we will get into all of that. We will. I know that maybe people don't love the NHL to the same way that I do, maybe even Bradley does, but honestly, it is one of the best playoff setups out there. Playoff hockey is
playoff hockey is awesome.
Playoff hockey might be the most exciting. I think playoff football is a little more exciting because it's one and done.
Oh, yeah, right. But I think what's interesting with playoff hockey, though, is I feel like you can, at least for me at times, I've like basically chanced upon or like walked into a game that I have like no rooting interest in whatsoever. Like I specifically remember, it might have been 2019 or 2020, when the Stars and the Blues were playing one another. It might have actually been their Stanley Cup season, potentially.
Right.
And it was just such a fantastic, like such a close quarters, like really competitive matchup. A few games went into overtime, and it was like there's really no reason why I should be so invested or have my heartbeat raise so significantly for a matchup between the St. Louis Blues and the Dallas Stars. But playoff hockey, just that atmosphere, that environment, and that attitude, that like one stray puck can change the entire complexion of a matchup, makes playoff hockey really, really fun.
Every goal is so
into.
consequential. Right. It makes the stakes just so much higher because unlike honestly, I mean, and that's, I think, why I'm most drawn to football and hockey is because I love the suddenness and like these acute moments of complete change, like a fumble return for a touchdown, an interception, like a kick return, and for the NFL. For hockey, it's like a goal out of nowhere, a deflected puck, a breakaway, that kind of stuff. I mean, it really
you feel the impact like immediately.
It's like it's an adrenaline shot to the heart. Although the playoff basketball has been amazing. With that said, though, before we get any further, tomorrow's my birthday. It's Monday, but at the same time, we're going to have a good time because I want to celebrate a little bit. I won't be in tomorrow. Wow.
Here's to you, Emma. Happy early birthday.
Thank you. So the Rangers and Knicks play on the same night, on my birthday. I don't know why the Knicks don't play tonight. It would have made my life a lot easier, but I'm happy that Randall gets a few more days rest.
Yeah, I think that's like ideal, right? In the sense that at the very least he can recuperate a little bit more.
And Josh Hart's now questionable. Did you see that?
Oh no.
I know that's well. Okay.
Yeah, we can dive
into hockey,
but we can dive into the NBA first if you'd like.
Let's start with our Knicks here. I mean,
go New York, go New York, go New York, go New York, go. We are the New York Knicks.
I was really pumped. I mean, Like
I was losing
it,
my mind.
and of all of the games that were kind of close through, I mean, and there were a lot of close games. The Sixers and Nets, the Celtics versus the Hawks, the Nuggets versus the Timberwolves, not close games, but the rest of them I think were pretty exciting and had some really interesting wrinkles to them, even though some of them were injuries, unfortunately. But for the Knicks, like low scoring, kind of poor offensive game by both sides, except for Donovan Mitchell, and Jalen Brunson. However, like the Knicks kind of knew that they had to step their defense up in the playoffs, and Tibbs is a strong defensive coach. I feel like it really showed itself in this game when Emmanuel quickly wasn't shooting that well. RJ Barrett didn't have the best offensive game. I mean, even Julius Randle was getting tired since he hasn't been in the lineup due to his ankle injury for a few weeks now towards the end of the game in the second half. But Brunson stepped up, and the Knicks just like have a deeper team. And I would say Josh Hart, who's now questionable, he's a shot of adrenaline to this Knicks team. He's a really really energetic, engaging player that I love to root for.
Yeah, and and what was interesting about how the game sort of played out, because especially as you look at the score, like 101-97, and also just like as you said, a few people on the Knicks not performing up to their usual, levels, and Brunson kind of having a pretty, superstar cementing game for this particular Knicks team. I think the score and like the kind of neutralization of some of these traditionally or at least necessary elements to both teams in this game kind of shows that I think this was going to be a bit of a rock fight. I think these teams are really evenly matched to the point where I think every possession is a bit of a struggle, and I think every possession requires kind of a cycle of different approaches to offense and defense, because both teams are kind of able to neutralize the first option, or at least to kind of get the first option offensively off balance for the other team. Like that's, I think, that was a huge strength of what the Knicks were doing early, is that they were sniffing out actions at the top only to make Darius Garland or guys, either guys like Darius Garland, like make really thin, narrow cuts in to get to the basket, or kind of force guys like Isaac Okoro to, like, who is not traditionally a great 3-point shooter, basically force them into giving him the open shot so that he could attempt to make it, and basically live with, okay, we can live with that type of shot selection if we're doing our best to take everything else away.
Yeah.
And if we're doing everything we can to also limit Donovan Mitchell to the extent that you can do so.
Well, he had 38 points, but I believe he had 30 attempts, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, so it wasn't super efficient 38,
Yes.
but they basically needed every point from him. And Hart, to, like, as you were saying, was just doing a really great job of containing him and leveling with him at the point of attack, and that is just exactly the type of player and the type of play you need in the playoffs. Just someone who is hard-nosed, tenacious, and willing to basically play in your jersey defense for as long as he's on the court.
He really is. I just think such a perfect playoff basketball player. It really was just kind of an emotional experience to see the Knicks finally, after such a tough road for us as fans. And also, I mean, that Hawks series, when it was like in one of the pandemic years, they had that home win, but it was not, they were not going to beat Trae Young and company that year. And the fact that this matchup is as even as Bradley describes is what makes this like a much more satisfying victory. Plus just Brunson being everything that we could have ever imagined and more, coming over from Dallas as a free agent. I mean, he is already outperforming the contract that we gave him.
No, I'm really
not we, but yes.
But I'm really pleased, and this is not even me being like, oh, like, look at the doubters. Like, I'm not trying to, like, dig up old, like, Sportsnet trade grade tweets to, like, then tag old takes exposed or whatever. Like, I'm not in that mindset right now of like getting all resentful and chest puffy after one playoff win. But I was on Saturday night. If you would press record where I was on Saturday night, maybe I was. But what I'm trying to say here is that I even had reservations about the contract and the fit, like with Jalen Brunson, in terms of like whether giving that much money, giving those years to Brunson, as opposed to maybe taking a bigger swing at Donovan Mitchell, which is also, of course, serendipitous that they're playing one another in the playoffs, on their new teams, as well as kind of just like hoping that a Josh Hart for Cam Reddish swap would pay dividends in any way, regardless of it being a super, super flashy trade deadline acquisition. I'm just really heartened and
no pun intended.
Yeah, I'm heartened by the ability for Hart to like really seamlessly enter this lineup and give kind of the peak of what a player like him is able to give. And Brunson is truly like opened up and kind of revolutionized the offense of this team. Like his suddenness, his ability with his handle, and his shot making ability. The Knicks used to really, really, when nothing else was working, when a significant amount of minutes were going to guys like Alec Burks and Evan Fournier, and 35-year-old Derrick Rose was sort of in Brunson's place.
Yeah.
And honestly, one of the more effective players in that playoff team, which showed how thin the roster was. Brunson is basically in that role now, and he is that release valve offensively. And
he's just so smart.
Where they did not have that before. They didn't have that court vision, the intellect,
the court vision is unreal.
The ability to sort of make something out of nothing. That was only on Randall's plate to basically, like, when there were no shots available, okay, make a 3% efficiency shot every single time. They had no other release valves to open up the offense just besides, okay, Julius, go post up at the elbow and take a turnaround fadeaway 14-footer because no one else is open and no one else can make a shot. They have so many more possibilities now that Brunson and Hart are on the team.
And Randall really, I mean, his physicality and his strength is just when he doesn't have that much on his plate, it really gets to shine through. And I do think
absolutely,
despite
he's not
his tired
overexerted.
legs, he was able to show that in this game. And it's so encouraging because Randall wears his heart on his sleeve. He's very obvious, and when his body language is bad on the court, you can see it, and 100%. It's like, oh, great.
You can tell when he's like pissed off.
Here we go. And then I just see him in the post-game presser, and he's jovial and excited and like ribbing Brunson, who's maybe as shy as it gets, especially behind the mic.
Yeah. He's really not like a
He really doesn't like being right.
Yeah.
He's stoic, but Randall, I can just tell with that pressure being off of him, he's able to play with a lightness that he wasn't able to play with last year, and that it's making a huge difference. It really is.
And what I think is a really important thing that's going to be one of the tone setters of this series, like the dynamic of this series, is Evan, like the duo of Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, both on both ends of the floor, has actually been super effective. And Mobley has actually, I think, really expanded his offensive game even from last year when
he's still so young, though.
And he's so young, and I think he's honestly still even growing into his body as an NBA player. But his length and the way he can slide his feet, he's a phenomenal defender, and he's getting a little bit more comfortable with kind of going to the basket and making more of like his touches in the post. And Allen is an athletic freak. When he really does get a head full of steam, he can really slam it at the rim. Like he just sometimes has like these crazy dunks or posters. But there are times where I think the physicality of someone who is a little bit thicker or a little bit more kind of willing to sort of bump around can get to them. And I think Randall and Mitchell Robinson both were sort of exploiting that tendency and kind of using their strength and using their kind of almost like ferocity when they're willing to sort of like get into someone else's jersey like that. There was a clip from the game where after a missed free throw, Randall, who's 6'9", 6'10", and probably he is probably 2 or 3 inches. He's probably 2 or 3 inches shorter than Mobley, but I would imagine, I don't know the exact particulars, but I think he's heavier than Mobley.
Yeah.
He just pushed Mobley completely off his spot and got the rebound instead of him. Like the physicality and the willingness to be physical against guys who maybe aren't that used to it or not anticipating it, I think is going to be huge going forward with the big guys in this series.
Agreed. I'm saying Knicks in 6. I've said Knicks from the start. Matt Leck talking a little trash to me, saying it was going to be the Cavs. I said, well, you're going to have to come on ESVN and defend that if it's not the case. But I always felt that the Knicks had more depth, and
I think they definitely do, because if you look
they don't have the same star power as Donovan Mitchell, but I still think in those assessments it's an underestimation of Brunson.
Right, because think about it too. When we're talking about the depth pieces for the Knicks, it's guys like Josh Hart, who is a crucial piece defensively for them, who can also shoot.
IQ.
Quickly, who is only getting better and better offensively, and his energy and his motor make it so that even if he's not the best defender, he's always trying on defense, which is huge. And Obi Toppin, who sometimes can struggle to get going, he can seem a little rudderless. When he does, though, he's still one of the most freakish athletes in the league.
He's such an amazing athlete. Yes.
And his shooting, I think, from beyond the arc has actually only improved as he's gotten a little bit older.
Yeah.
And also, RJ Barrett, when RJ Barrett is on, which is a huge distinction to make, because there are times where he's really flat. But when he is doing what he does best, which is basically, again, strength, rumbling into space, drawing contact, making shots, that's to say nothing of guys like Isaiah Hartenstein, who is truly also, I think, been kind of a revelation for this Knicks team, of having a guy who just knows when and where to make the right pass or to be in the right place at all times on the court.
Yes.
That is so crucial. And when you look at the Cavs,
he's a great big man off the bench.
Totally. And when you look at the Cavs, some of these guys I actually don't even think are bad or net negatives on the team. It's just Dean Wade or Lamar Stevens or Isaac Okoro, even Okoro, who's a first-round draft pick, they don't strike fear into the hearts of, I think, opposing players in terms of knowing that those guys, if they're open, they're going to make the shot that they need to make.
Right.
So I think they suffer a little bit from not having the depth or the reliability of their depth pieces being as, I think, not only prominent, but necessary to the success of the team.
That's the way also that, with this 9-man rotation, we have to move on to other games. I know we could talk about the Knicks forever, but Thibodeau has been able and been lucky in a sense to be able to stick with some of the same guys throughout the season, and everyone kind of knows their role. So look, the Knicks look good to me. I don't even know what to say, but not as good as this one. First. We have to talk about this Kings Warriors game.
Oh my God, yeah. So this is the other this is Knicks West.
I'm really rooting for the Kings here.
Light the beam.
De'Aaron Fox is a star.
Yeah,
star. And I know, what was it, his first All-Star this year?
Yeah, I think so. Because Sabonis has made it a few times, but Fox, this is his first, I think.
That seems silly. But at the same time, I know this is kind of his big year. He just sticks out on the floor.
I'm so impressed because I think this is not just a credit to him, credit to Fox, who has been in the league for some time now.
He's 25.
He was drafted, I think, probably 6 years ago, because I think he's been in the league. He's 25 and he's been in the league since he was 18.
Yeah.
So he's still super young and still figuring out. When I say that, I mean that he's figuring his play out still. That's a testament to how I think he is only going to keep improving based on where he was when he started in the league, which was basically a blur of unbelievable athletic tools that weren't super refined or shaved down into a coherent style of play. And credit to him for working on himself and working to make it where he is not only good to great shooter from basically all over the floor, but he is lightning quick. He's a
so
blur
fast.
when his first step, and when he actually gets into a drive, he can be from behind the 3-point line to the bucket in literally maybe 2-3 seconds flat. And I give a lot of credit to Mike Brown, because I think Mike Brown really opened up and liberated a lot of pieces of Fox's game that were there and kind of latent within him, but now they're all coming out at the same time. He's not just driving to the basket. He's making tough shots. He's making threes. He's making the right plays. He's kicking out to shooters when he has to. And this is, I think, a testament to them offensively, because as we're going to see, the defense is, the defense is what the defense is for the Kings. They're an offense factory. But what Fox is able to do there is know that if I'm kicking the ball out, Trey Lyles can make a three. Kevin Huerter can make a three. Malik Monk can make a three. Even Sabonis sometimes can make a three. Like,
I mean, Malik Monk had over 30 points off the bench.
they have a great
who's also very
coterie
fast.
of they have a great coterie of scorers. Like, they have guys who basically can basically any given night can kind of blow up off the bench or just kind of give like a really consistent offensive effort with Sabonis as like the ultra big man hub,
which is a massive contrast to what the Warriors have become right now,
Right.
where it's like, okay, first, I mean, Steph Curry, amazing, but he's basically like the only one that is scoring efficiently right now.
That's the huge problem, is that it's
or I don't even know if it's efficient, but he's the only one that's really like when Curry's off on the bench, they are not scoring at the level that they should be to keep up with the Kings.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch because it's one of those things where I was almost feeling similarly, and like maybe we'll see what happens to an extent and see if I'll still feel this way. But as I was with like LeBron with the Lakers earlier this year, similarly how I'm feeling with Curry with the Warriors is like the Warriors have been really, really bad winning games on the road, and they have had some clear frustrations and clear kind of like shortcomings in how their lineups are constructed right now, and how some of the development from some of these younger players has not come to fruition as maybe they've wanted to since last year. But all that being said, with all of that being said, Steph is still literally playing some of, if not like the best basketball of his career.
Yeah.
He's like still literally unguardable and unstoppable. Like something that I think people like, it's not, I don't necessarily think this is underestimated, but I think what I always love watching about Steph beyond like the crazy shot making ability he has from everywhere is he is so like the offense of that team survives on Steph never letting his feet touch the ground, essentially.
Right.
He never stops moving. He is so kinetic. If he's not open, he's running around the circumference of the half court to get open, or he's setting screens to get open, or Kevon Looney's setting screens for him to get open. Like he is never not moving. He's like
he
a
doesn't
freaking
take plays off.
Never ever. So like I think all that is to say is, of course, he has fantastic stamina as a result of that, but it's hard when you were really the only one even profiting off that movement.
Yeah.
Because you can't really rely on Draymond or Looney to score in volume. You just can't.
No,
Clay,
Draymond?
Clay
Although
has,
he did have like a kind of like free, he had a layup where he showed some skill. It was like, whoa, Draymond.
He is essentially good at this point in his career to make one or two kind of like heat check threes and have one like really nice like handle into the lane for like a finger roll layup. Like he has like three of those plays with him every game.
Right.
Looney is an amazing like tone setter, screen setter, kind of like conduit to their offense, but he's not going to score. And if Clay is not shooting well, that has a huge impact on their offense. And I think the biggest issue that I'm seeing, or at least that I feel like I've seen consistently since kind of like the latter half of the regular season into now, is Poole.
Yep.
Poole has become extremely offensively inconsistent, and when that's the case, he is a straight up liability on defense, and he makes probably 3 to 5 really stupid and really short-sighted and really kind of critical errors when he makes in terms of passing.
Yeah.
There are just times where he'll pass and he'll see ghosts. He'll pass to nobody. He'll throw a ball straight to the other team. Like you can make up for those things if you're scoring like he was last year in last year's playoffs. But it's really hard when that's not coming, and then you're also turning the ball over 3 or 4 times a game, and you're not really playing defense.
And I felt bad for Wiggins because he clearly like was not back. I mean, he had 18 points or something like that, 16 points.
Yeah.
But he was not himself.
And I think that's tough. It's tough because it's like, he's having to reintegrate himself into this team that he hasn't been playing with for a few weeks or a month or month and a half or whatever it was during the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like that's like
that's really hard.
It's hard to reintegrate yourself after some time in the regular season, let alone when it's like every game is must win. Yeah. Every game is like we need to be firing on all cylinders. And Wiggins is like literally just like, I'm just trying to get back into like game speed, like regular like NBA game speed.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I really can't count out the Warriors, and especially when they're going to go back to Oracle, which obviously is like their, it's hard to win at Oracle, but not only is it hard to win at Oracle, it's hard for the Warriors to lose at Oracle.
But they're going to have to steal one on the road.
That's crucial,
right? And so I could see this going to 7 games.
Totally, because if it's home basically, or whatever,
I could totally see that happening. And but I'm rooting for the Kings. I love Steph Curry. I really do.
No, me too.
But the Kings are a really fun story, and I mean, it's just like the environment there was electric and exciting to see.
Because I
hope all the games are that exciting.
It's 17 years of pent up energy of of being a diehard fan of a team that has had so many trials and tribulations, so many failures, so many front office turnovers, so many coaching changes.
Yes.
To like finally see someone come in, like Mike Brown come in and like put all these pieces together, and for these guys to really find their strengths together and maximize their potential, it's fucking awesome to see.
Are you telling me Adrienne
cool.
Maloof, during her tenure as one of the owners of the Kings, didn't put together a competent front office?
Yeah, no, she was too focused on being on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She couldn't.
One of my least favorite of those women in the early seasons. She was kind of just like an asshole.
Yeah, well, and her botched husband.
Yes, but she was very mean to him. That's what I didn't like. She
hated his guts.
Belittled him on camera regularly. I was like, wow, what's happening behind the scenes?
Like, hey, be nice, okay?
Yeah, but she was.
That's what we come to Bravo for.
One of the richest housewives.
Oh yeah,
100%. Oh yeah, very well. I think they also have a stake in the King. I mean, in the Golden Knights.
I'm sure they
that family.
They like the royalty themed basketball sporting franchises.
Right. All right, well, let's kind of just group some of these injuries together and talk about them before we go to the NHL.
Brutal. I mean, it's obviously you can't anticipate any of this stuff. It just sucks so much because it's like you never want to not watch these teams at like full strength.
Hero, John Morant.
Yeah, so it looks like Giannis seemed to fall on his back.
He has a back contusion.
Contesting a shot or going up for a shot. He fell really hard in his back. I don't think there's a specific prognosis on that yet.
Not that I'm seeing. I mean, but the John Morant injury, yes.
That one seems to be a little bit
really
more
bad.
severe. Because
they asked him what his pain was, and he said like 10.
Yeah, so he was basically saying that I think it's all but guaranteed he's going to be out for game 2 at least. And he like you said, the pain level seems to be as high as possible for what's going on with him.
The X-rays were negative, but I mean that could be just like a horrible sprain. We don't really know what it is. The back injury or the back contusion, that seems like the least terrible injury. So Giannis could return for game 2, but Hero
seems to be
whatever. I can never get it right. It
kind of looks like Hero.
Yeah, I mean, I literally I'll interchange it. But he has a broken hand, so he's out for a while. That takes
4 to 6 weeks.
And the Heat have been struggling to get any offense out of anybody that's not really Jimmy Butler.
Right.
So that's a tad concerning, but if Giannis is out for the series, it's anybody's series.
I think that's the equalizer. Like if Giannis is not there, the team is. Don't get me wrong. The Bucks are still a good team with Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez, but
Middleton.
But I still think like to that specific point, it's like Giannis is really like the game-breaking engine for this team that makes everyone else's play better. And also, I still think Middleton is sort of. I think he's still a little. I still don't think he's fully 100%. Not in terms of health. I just mean in the sense of like being in the rhythm of like day in day out playing NBA games. Because he was out for a long time. They were playing. They were playing really, really well and playing a lot of games without him this season. So I think it's one thing to keep. It's one thing to try and exploit an injury like that of Heroes in the sense of like, okay, the Heat are missing, one of the pretty few real offensive weapons that they have. But now we're missing our like perennial MVP candidate player as well for
probably the best player in the NBA.
And we don't know for how long. And as a result, we got blown out by that team who's the 8th seed.
Yeah, I mean, it was I turned it off. I was like, ugh. Once he got, I don't know. I just was like, I can't watch this. Like it was like the injury after injury. I had to do some other shit. It bummed me out, especially because like the whole tenor of the weekend changed.
Absolutely.
And even seeing the Morant injury in slow motion when he just like falls and that hand completely bends back like that after Brandon Clark and Adams are out for the Grizzlies in general. I feel badly for Grizzlies fans. It could not have gone worse for them in terms of luck right here.
This is a really, really tough situation, and basically, like what sucks about it is like really the only thing that could have possibly been worse. Like sure, like yes, like Desmond Bane could have gotten injured, Jaren Jackson could have gotten injured, but Ja Morant being injured is like that's backbreaking. That's that in the sense he is like, take everything else aside of what we've discussed earlier about before about him in terms of like, you know, any off court stuff. That guy is the spiritual, emotional, and you know, athletic leader of this team.
Right.
Like he is the galvanizing force of the Memphis Grizzlies, and he is what, like, not only in just his ability to score and like the violence with which he does it, but also how in a lot of contexts he's also pretty unselfish with the ball.
Yeah,
he is a great
well.
distributor to get open shots for his teammates. Like this team still has a lot of talented players. They're a really well coached team. They have a lot of people who can shoot and can score, but none of the Bucks without Giannis, the Grizzlies without Ja, like. It's just not that these teams are just not. They don't have the same. They don't have the same, you know, color to them. The same.
And the Grizzlies are in a horrible situation in terms of who they're playing at the same time. Where like the Lakers have been getting hot at the end of the year. LeBron is LeBron, and he's not the same in his late 30s, but he does have like the ability to make game-changing plays, like that block he had off the glass where he just leaps in the air and you're like, oh my God, I forgot you're like a once-in-a-generation athlete across any sport.
And you're 38.
And Anthony Davis had an injury scare, but thankfully it was just like a stinger, so he was able to come back in. And then of course, like, you know, country boy Austin Reeves had a career game.
Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura both, like, you know, like Reeves, an undrafted free agent, signed to a 2-way contract, you know, really proving himself and excelling in this role with the LeBron Lakers. Hachimura, who was kind of seen as almost like a mystery and like a near bust with the Wizards, like no one really knew what to do with him there. He was kind of sidelined and almost like begging to be traded.
And then you realize, oh, it's the Wizards.
And you realize, like, oh, they've somehow managed to sort of like squander a chance with a 6'9" freak athlete with arms down to his legs,
yes,
who can dunk at will and also shoot a three. Like, he was definitely a bust for the Wizards, right? For sure.
Right.
Like,
right.
And he also happens to still literally be like 22 years old, 23 years old. Like, it's crazy to see what circumstances do for players, you know, and what like scenarios work and which ones don't. And for them to be sort of the catalyst behind the win too also makes me think like, oh, like, if Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura can combine for like 53 points, and they're sort of like they're sort of like the fulcrum of that win in Memphis, as opposed to LeBron or AD, like when they're all humming, I think this is a more interesting matchup than I initially anticipated, even when it was only Clark and Adams out. But I think it really gets interesting if Ja's going to miss some time.
I mean, I think the Lakers win if Ja misses like a lot of time.
I think. If the
Lakers, they've already evened the series, right. So
if the Lakers stay healthy, and Ja misses time, I think it'll be really difficult.
One more game to touch on, because like again, I'm not the Celtics. Like it looked like it was over from. I mean, the Hawks had a little bit of a resurgence, but who cares? Like the Nuggets destroyed Minnesota. It was absurd. Go on.
Yeah, I think those blowouts have some clarity, only in the sense of I just think it proves like
the Sixers destroyed the Nets.
I think those three teams to me are like, we see what their class is, you know, in the sense like the Nuggets were literally just basically taking a flamethrower to the Timberwolves. Like they were just like, you can't score on us, and also we're going to just go through every one of our bag of tricks and like, oh, like you want to try and like double team or kind of like snuff out the Murray Jokic 2-man game. Fine, we'll kick out to Bruce Brown. We'll kick out to Christian Brown. Like, well, then they'll just cash threes on you. Like, we'll kick out to Kentavious Caldwell Pope. Like Talk about guys who know their roles and form a cohesive unit. Every single player on that team, even including freaking DeAndre Jordan, know exactly what they're doing, where they're supposed to be, and how to best maximize their team's strengths. Like, they are a well-oiled machine. And so are, honestly, the Celtics when everyone's on. Like, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, when they're both performing, they are really hard to stop. It's two rangy, athletic freaks who could defend basically all 5 positions and score from anywhere. Like, they are a volcanic unit when they're hot and when they're defending well, when that whole team is defending well. And then the Sixers, it's like, you show me someone who can effectively guard Embiid for 7 games, Joel Embiid for 7 games, and even if they do it, he's probably still scoring 35 points a game.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, at his size, his capacity to score, it's just, you can't overstate it. It's like, but those teams are who we thought they were. The Nuggets, the Celtics, the Sixers. We didn't really learn anything new about them, and I think they're going to win those series easily.
It's only making me super excited for when the East whittles down, like those series, like either like the quarters or the semis of like.
I mean, if the Bucks make it through, and the Bucks face either the Knicks or the Cavs, and then it's Sixers Celtics.
Right, Sixers Celtics is going to be
awesome.
an amazing series.
Yes.
And then also hopefully, just because I love watching them play, like I just think like if the Nuggets are able to make a run to the finals, I honestly think any team coming out of the East playing the Nuggets would be an amazingly fun series.
But in terms of the West, like, golf clap for Russell Westbrook. I mean, this has been... Okay, so he shot 3 for 19.
But that's what's kind of... That's
what's fun about the story.
That's the latter period Russell Westbrook experience, especially for like this time, his very short tenure with the Clippers so far, is like he's still heat checking while he's ice cold. He's still taking 20 shots. He's still missing 16 of them. And yet, in a crunch time, he's playing like ferocious defense on one of the best scorers in the league. And not only playing ferocious defense, having the presence of mind to lock him up, and then when the ball is about to go out of bounds, bounce it off of Booker. That was an unbelievable possession, despite him literally shooting like 15% from the field last night.
But I don't even know why I can't stop rooting for Russell Westbrook. But because like I hate the fact that he can't seem to just like I don't know, play a bit more of a smarter brand of basketball and defer a little bit more on his shot. But that's almost part of why I'm like it's endearing to me. I'm like this man will not change for anybody. But it's working more with the Clippers right
Definitely.
now.
I think they're finding a little bit of a way, I think, to like fit him in where he's not like a real almost like like on the Lakers, he was like an impediment to their success, like actively so. Like he was taking shots, with like he was taking crazy shots with like 15 seconds on the shot clock. He was driving into a thicket of defenders in crunch time to just like throw up a kind of pointless layup. He was not passing. I think they're finding something a little bit more seamless with him, and I also just think it does probably help that the ball can go to Kawhi Leonard, and Kawhi can sort of just create on his own. Like he can.
Well, I mean, Kawhi has been playing over the past 6-8 weeks, like incredible basketball.
Right, he's coming back, like which I'm like so thrilled by, because I think sometimes like since 2019,
I love Kawhi Leonard.
I think just like I think since 2019 with the Raptors, because of the injuries and kind of the machinations to get him to LA and kind of like the lack of success they'd had in the playoffs, like. We not like forgot, but I think it can be sort of looked over.
He has no social media presence. Right, he's just not like very quiet and humble.
You can forget that this is a guy who has like actually like his hands that are so big it's like scary to look at.
Yeah.
Who is one of the best pure scorers I've ever seen. Like just like at the top of his game, like I would say, like comparable to almost like Kevin Durant in terms of like just truly being able to just put the ball in the hoop.
And he plays defense, which I love.
and being a suffocating defender.
Suffocating defender. I mean, that's why I like 3 or 4 years ago when the Knicks were like in the Durant and Irving sweepstakes. it was never really on the table because I know he always wanted to go to the West Coast, but I always wanted Kawhi Leonard. Like Kawhi Leonard is the kind of basketball player that you want on your basketball team. He is that dude.
It's just a shame that Paul George is out because
but if they can make it through this series and he can come back, that's really an exciting prospect. Another player who I love. Like the Clippers are the most likable team right now for me outside of the Kings in the West. I just love the team. I love the team. I love those guys.
I think it's honestly they have.
I like Tyronn Lue.
Ty Lue is a good coach, and I think they were struggling to find their formula. I think earlier in the season, I think they really are now in the sense that I think. We were talking about how they've kind of narrowed their rotation a little bit, but I think it's because they are keyed in on who is the most optimal in terms of like team chemistry, which I think they didn't really know or weren't fully kind of resolved in earlier in the season. But like Kawhi, Norman Powell, even Mason Plumlee, just kind of giving them effort and like some effort and rebounding. Even Bones Highland, who is very inconsistent, but if he's hot, can really make shots for them. I think this team will really only. If they can make it past the Suns, which is a big if, because they stole this one, they pulled it out. But the Suns are 8-1 with Kevin Durant, and if Kevin Durant, if KD, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul are all firing on all cylinders, and they're getting even a little bit of production from DeAndre Ayton, they're still a really hard out. But if the Clippers can make it through,
bad body language. Just seeing DeAndre Ayton.
Ayton is a world class powder.
He really is.
He is a world class sulker.
It's hard to watch. I'm like, dude, Come
on,
but at the same time,
man.
the Suns also he did not want to be there, and they basically through what was a restricted free agency like signing thing, they kind of forced it. But anyway,
where he said I haven't spoken to Monty Williams since the playoffs.
Yeah,
like 8 months later.
I don't know why I'm just rooting against the Suns. I don't know why. I don't know what it is.
I think the vibes are still kind of weird. Like I don't think they've really found it yet. Even with the amount of talent they have, I just still think it's like. I think it's hard for that to like congeal in 9 games.
No, like I'm a Durant defender, and I like Devin Booker, but there's just something I don't know that I'm not buying fully, and something feels off, and I'm just like also much more of a fan of the guys on the Clippers.
And I think honestly, as I was just saying, in terms of like the kind of the depth, or at least just like the supporting pieces for like Kawhi on the Clippers and them finding their rotation, I think if they can make it out of this round and Paul George can come back, that is a tough team to play.
Oh yeah.
If Paul George comes back and he's even like 75%, 80% of the guy that we know him to be, along with Kawhi playing the way he is, and if Russell Westbrook can sort of get out of it, can not only kind of be effective, whether it's scoring the ball in a sensible way or whether it's defending like the way he did in that game 1, and kind of getting out of not only his way but the team's way, I think they're gonna be a team to watch a little bit. Yes. I don't think they're better than the Nuggets. I don't think they could get past the Nuggets necessarily.
I'm not ruling it out,
but I think they can be competitive for sure.
I mean,
this is probably one of the most interesting series, honestly. Yes. Clippers Suns. Like it's like I'm actually like I think it could really go either way.
I think so too. I'm leaning. I mean, I'm not counting the Clippers out, honestly, against anyone right now in the West. I really feel
right. I see that.
The way that Kawhi is playing right now, and if Paul George actually returns, if they're able to get through this series,
exactly.
Woo! I bank on that, defensive capacity in the playoffs when other teams don't have it.
And guess what? If the injury bug kind of continues to rear its ugly head for the Grizzlies and the Lakers, can make it out of that series, the Clippers have the Lakers number. The Clippers went 3-0 against the Lakers this season.
Although it would be, I think it would be Nuggets.
I see. So they would play them, but
the Clippers would have to
maybe play the Kings or the Warriors, I guess.
Yeah.
And even that, I think, would be an interesting.
The West is fascinating.
Yeah,
the East is more talented. But
it's top. But someone was saying in chat,
not. I don't know.
But someone was saying in chat, it is top heavy though, in the sense of like,
yes,
the 1-8, 2-7 were like pretty, kind of. I mean not 1-8. Sorry, the 2-7, the 3-6 are sort of seeming a little cut and try so far. I think the tough thing for the Nets is that they just don't really have the size.
I know.
They don't really have the size or the strength, I think, to compete with Embiid. Like Claxton's a great defender, but Embiid can kind of, I think, bully a guy like Claxton.
I've seen Nick
potentially.
Claxton in person. I've walked past him on the street here in Brooklyn. That is not the same person as Embiid.
Because I just think in terms of density, basically.
Yeah.
Like Embiid is just so strong.
Nick Claxton is lighter than probably 10 pounds lighter, if I were to guess, than Mitchell Robinson.
And it's exactly.
And Mitchell Robinson's like a lot lighter than, and like I would take him. Yeah, I mean, Nick Claxton's skinny.
Yeah. So I think that's like, I'm just thinking about the kind of the first three, top three matchups in the East. I think two of the three of them at least right now, given the Giannis news, are like definitely less competitive, I'd say, than the 1 through 3 matchups in the West.
Joel Embiid weighs. Guess how much he weighs?
Is he 265?
280 pounds.
Oh, he's 280. Yeah.
Guess how much Nick Claxton weighs?
He's probably 240.
215.
Oh my God, he's 215. Yeah, he's skinny. He's skinny for a 7-footer.
I'm
6'10",
telling you,
yeah.
I didn't expect it. And Mitchell Robinson, I was gonna guess, is in between 240.
I see. Okay,
215,
yeah.
240,
right.
280.
That's the spectrum.
Like in terms of
like,
that's
what I'm saying. I think that's
bully ball.
Exactly. That's the thing though, is I think if you're Doc Rivers and the Sixers, you're probably like, let's get the switch, or at least let's focus on doing a few Embiid Claxton ISOs and just wearing him down.
Yes.
Make him exhausted, basically.
I feel bad for Nick Claxton.
No, it's
honestly.
tough. And even if you're trying to freaking triple team Embiid, it barely matters.
No, I know.
He'll tire them out too. He doesn't care. Like, and then he's just passing to other shooters, or passing to James Harden getting into the lane. They're hard to stop. They're gonna be in the finals.
Yeah, wait. Yeah. Wait.
Still happening.
Wait, who are you talking about?
The Sixers.
Oh, the Sixers. You're
Sixers.
Convinced. Yes, yeah. I mean, you're such a bad Knicks fan saying that in the damn Knicks hat. What's wrong with you?
I need to win.
I mean, honestly, maybe you feel that way because the 76ers are owned by the same team that owns your Devils.
Well,
I mean,
Josh Harris signed me.
Now with the Commanders, we didn't even. It's like, that should be on the rundown. We'll cover it at the end. We have a few quick NFL hits at the end.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we should. We got to talk this.
I mean, this is like,
I totally forgot. It's so hilarious that we have so much else to talk about. We're like, oh right, Dan Snyder sold the team.
I know, right? It's
the moment we've all been waiting for.
Well, I don't think it's official yet, honestly. So maybe we do hold off on that because that dude is just nothing.
It's a report. Yeah.
Well, shall we get into it?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
The NHL playoffs, baby.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. Okay. Let's just start off. Elephant in the room. No. You and me.
I'm coming
mano y mano.
I was running from you, actually.
Mano y mano. Okay?
I was taking myself out. I gotta go.
So the Rangers and Devils, for people that don't realize, this is a major rivalry in the world of hockey. The Devils, in my lifetime, were a juggernaut, and they won multiple cups when I was a kid growing up in New Jersey, but I was a Rangers fan growing up.
And they beat them in the playoffs in 2012. No
that
problem.
too.
No problem.
Martin Brodeur lived in my friend's town.
Oh, no
That was
way.
a big part of that controversy when he ended up leaving his wife for her sister. That was fun. Or sister-in-law or something like that. Either way, it was a big
You know the chant, right?
No, what was it?
At some MSG games, fans would just go, Marty Fox's sister-in-law.
Okay. Was sister-in-law, yes. All right, now maybe I blocked that out as a kid because
absolute dog that guy is.
Totally, but those are no longer the days. Let's get into it here. So, for people that may not follow hockey, the Devils are the young, electric, fast team. They're led by a player named Jack Hughes, who is arguably a top 5 player in the NHL already, and he looks like he's Justin Bieber, and not Justin Bieber now, but Justin Bieber age 16. Like,
yeah, he's a lad.
He's young and looks way younger than he actually
and
is.
His brother's on the team now too.
Yes, he has 2 brothers. One's Quinn, who plays in Vancouver.
Quinn's in the Canucks, and then Luke Hughes is on he actually had a pretty nice goal
in overtime
in one of the last games of the regular season. But yeah, Jack is fantastic. He's
He's out of control.
A rising star.
And the Devils have been kind of sitting on a lot of talent until it finally came to fruition, and another first overall pick that they have on their team, because like they were bad for a long period of time. They got a ton of great players at the top of the draft. Nico Hischier is the other.
He's just really come. He's one of those guys. One of my friends is also a big Devils fan. We both of us basically were like, we basically need him to be like almost like a 40-40 or something like that, like 40 goals scorer, like 40 points, something like that, in the sense of like just needing him to be like a really consistent, not only scorer but playmaker, to really like kind of like pay dividends or return on investment for the first overall pick. And he's actually really come into that space this year. He
really has. And they also have a free agent signing on defense, because the Devils have struggled mightily over the years on defense. Now they're
100%.
much better since signing Dougie Hamilton to a long-term deal, who has like long been a much buzzed about defensive prospect.
Totally.
But they're incredibly young. And I should mention Timo Meier. They had the biggest
trade deadline
acquisition
from the Sharks.
Timo Meier, who is a really physical forward. The Devils have an issue in terms of like, yes, they're very fast, but they're undersized to a degree. Timo Meier helps that because he's physical and skilled as a forward. And they're a formidable opponent for the Rangers. The issue is that they do still have some holes defensively, and their goaltending has not been that consistent, I would say. If you were to assess, Bradley, what the weaknesses of the Devils are in this matchup, that's part of it.
Yeah, I think I always like the biggest issue that they've especially had the last few years, which I don't think have been fully rectified, is their ability to. They've always, even when they were really struggling, like maybe like 2 seasons ago, when they were actually probably, I think, one of almost like the worst teams in the league, when they were really, really struggling, the offense was never a problem. Like they could always sort of get to like 3 to 5 goals a game.
Last year I bet the over
because they were
Devils
pretty
game.
reliable for it in the sense that they had a really high-powered offense. They could never maintain a lead.
Yes,
like there were so many games that I remember from last year and the season before where it would probably be 3-1, 4-2, 5-2, or something like that. All of a sudden, third period rolls around. The guys are tired. 5-5 going into overtime. There's a shootout. They lose in the shootout. So, like, there were a ton of those games I'm remembering from the last few regular seasons where there was just no ability to hold on to a lead and keep it and maintain it. Because at some point, even if you're scoring 4 or 5 goals, that's difficult in its own right. When the other team then scores 4 or 5 back, it's not that easy to then get the 6th.
Right.
Like the momentum really shifts at that point, and you're also then kind of sort of playing from behind, even when you were playing from ahead for most of the game. So I think that was a huge issue for them, defense and like consistent defense. And like you said, Dougie Hamilton and Timo Meier have certainly fortified that to a degree, and even just getting that size and having a little bit more stoutness in front of the goal really helps. But I still think that if these games with the Rangers kind of become shootouts, it's basically a question of whether their defense can hold on.
Yeah. And
because we know sort of the speed in the offense will be there, can the defense hold up in this setting?
And unfortunately, the Rangers actually have some defensive liabilities as well, where you look at the analytics when it comes to the Rangers, and off the rush, they really struggle. And the Devils are one of the best teams off the rush in the entire league, like in terms of fast breaks, getting down the ice into their offensive zone really quickly. The Devils are some of the best in the whole league at that because of the speed on their team. Now, the Rangers, this is a difference in speed and youth versus skill and experience.
Absolutely.
The Rangers have 2 Stanley Cup winners that they got at the trade deadline on their team. Patrick Kane, who I do not like as a person, but yes, he's on the team now. He's not the same, but he has a hip injury and a ton. I mean, obviously he won 3 cups with the Blackhawks and is like...
And he still has some juice on him.
Oh, he's got some skill. Like he's not fast anymore.
Yeah, but
he's
still, he's always just had a great shot.
And vision, yes, and
him and Panarin have played together. They have chemistry already.
Yes,
to kind of built in.
And to me, I mean, Vladimir Tarasenko has been a revelation. He has this like incredible
100%.
sniper shot, won a cup with the Blues, and he's also like the nicest guy in terms of how I feel about individuals in terms of trade deadline, like human beings. Could not be a bigger gap between how I feel about Patrick Kane and Tarasenko. But putting that aside, like. The Rangers do have an element that I think that the Devils are going to struggle with. It's the veteran experience. It's the fact that the third line for the Rangers is the kid line with Capo Caco, who I'm repping today, Alexis Lafreniere and Filipino. And that's a mismatch for most teams because most teams don't have the depth that the Rangers have right now, where the third and fourth lines, it's an opportunity for the defense of the opposing team to take some time off in the middle of a grueling game. Like they want to worry about when the power plays on the ice, when the top two lines are on the ice, and the thing that the Rangers have in their favor is that you can't take any plays off. Even the fourth line has been scoring with Barclay Goodrow, Jimmy Vesey, and Barclay Goodrow, Jimmy Vesey, and no, hold on. We got him at the trade deadline. Quick player, Tyler Mott. Jesus.
That's a real
smoking pot.
That's a real testament to the Rangers is their depth. Like even that fourth line, like Goudreau's a good like scrappy player.
Yes.
Who also
won a cup.
I was gonna say who also has like playoff experience.
Yes,
with
won
a
cup with the Lightning, and so I mean like. The Rangers have incredible depth, and they also have a top 5 goaltender.
Right, and that's sometimes like literally the game swinger is having Shesterkin in net.
But they're very defensively inconsistent is a massive problem, and they give up a lot of the chances off the rush. The Rangers, in their top lines, are struggling in forecheck and keeping the puck in the zone when they're not getting breaks. It's harder for them to score and keep offensive pressure up consistently when it's 5v5. So the key to this, I think the Rangers are if I were to bet, are going to win the series.
Really?
What do you think? I think it's going to be 6.
No, I agree. I just think it's.
But only because of the fact that the Devils are really young. And this NHL playoff format is so messed up. There's no way that either of these two teams should be at a disadvantage going into the first round of the playoffs. This is absurd.
Because of the divisional stuff,
The Devils
right?
and the Rangers are two of the top 6 teams in the league
and
right
they're playing
now,
each other in the
and
first
they're playing
round.
each other in the first round. Screw you, NHL. Come on, let's make this. This would be much more exciting if we were playing at a different time.
Right.
I mean, it's still going to be a great series, but I'm taking the Rangers in 6 just because of Shesterkin being more consistent, the experience on the other side, and if the Devils give them some breaks, I just have a little bit more faith that the Rangers and their veteran experience are going to be able to take control.
I think it could potentially go to. I think it potentially could go to 7, but either way, I think that Rangers pull it out. Just because I feel similarly in the sense that I think the speed and the youth will be able to keep them in these games, in the sense that I think there is definitely a few games where I could see that that's just a real shot in the arm, and that they can kind of dictate the pace and the scoring for a few of the games that they could win in this series. But I think the big hinge points for me are kind of just knowing what to do and how to conduct yourself and play team hockey in the playoffs, in a Stanley Cup playoff environment, where Kane and Panarin really almost cut, and Tarasenko and Goudreau, guys like that, have all kind of cut their teeth in.
I mean, Zibanejad and Kreider, who went to the finals his rookie year. And yeah, it's just Trocheck, who came from Carolina, a lot of playoff experience.
It's a lot of guys who just know this environment well and know what it takes. And that's no disrespect or nothing. That's no criticism of the Devils. It's a testament to how good and how ahead of schedule I think a lot of these young players are now, and a great sign of what's to come for them as they just continue to mature and get better. But these are a lot of really young guys with a few veteran acquisitions, like Hamilton and Meyer,
and
who don't have a ton of I mean, Meyer with the Sharks, sort of, but they don't have they don't have an amazing amount of playoff
Yeah, I mean,
experience.
and Dougie Hamilton
relative
with
to
the
those
Bruins, yeah,
relative to the Rangers, I mean, and beyond that, beyond the playoff experience, so I think the biggest thing, which I always think does really come to fruition, and make it and what really exposes itself in the Stanley Cup playoffs is the importance of having an elite goaltender.
Mm-hmm.
It is so crucial to have a guy in goal that you can trust to basically be like a fortification around your team.
Right.
And one of the biggest things the Devils have struggled with, other than some defensive lapses and defensive uncertainty in their personnel, is the lack of consistent quality goalie play.
Yeah.
Since Brodeur retired, it has been a pretty perpetual struggle to find the exact solution in goal. And even though Mackenzie Blackwood has done an admirable job, or even trying to back up Brodeur at first, then sort of split time and kind of like to take more reps and become more of a consistent presence. He's like the goal situation. I would not say is completely developed
You say Brodeur?
Didn't Blackwood back up Brodeur?
Oh, did he?
I thought Blackwood was, or was that Keith Kincaid? It might have been
It might have been either one. I mean, he's 26, so I don't think that's.
Oh no, it must have been Kincaid then. I thought, but Blackwood to me is probably the most.
It seems like Vanacek's gonna start.
But that's the thing, is it's between Vanacek and Blackwood, and to me it's like I'm never super comfortable with a goalie by committee approach in the playoffs to begin with, and Vanacek and Blackwood have both shown flashes of good play, and Blackwood is a pretty tenured Devil at this point even. I just still don't trust them even nearly as much as I kind of as to me that I trust the guarantee of the play that I know Igor Shesterkin is going to put in for the Rangers.
And he's been playing. He had a lull in like the midway point through the season, but he's really been hitting his stride later in the year.
I just know what we're gonna get from him. And
he wet his beak in a really tough matchup in the first round where he did not play well against the Penguins last year. Really hit his stride later on. So. Again, so we're both. I'm saying Rangers in 6.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go 7, both for wishful thinking in terms of just wanting the series to go as long as it can. And I just do think, this is a kind of also a styles makes fight situations, which I think it'll just be very, very fascinating to see, like the fast up tempo, youthful kind of gameplay relative to more like battle tested. Defense, like the strength in defense, strength in playmaking, strength in offensive production that at their best, that the Rangers can provide. I think it'll be a really interesting test for both teams. And
that's tomorrow, so very excited.
Yeah, for your birthday.
My birthday. The Knicks and the Rangers play playoff games. All right, let's put up these odds then, because we had to give that series a little bit of a side. I guess we should wait, hold on. We should probably pick something that we do if we we'll think about it. We'll think about it. We'll think about before the end of the show what we're betting here. Okay.
And
we probably should have done this before.
As always, suggestions are welcome from the chat.
Yeah.
From the
Suggest what we
YouTube
should
chat.
do, and no more cheese or food related things, please.
I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, no. I mean, that was tough.
That was similarly traumatic for me.
It was rough. So we touched on the Rangers and Devils game just a second ago. Obviously, I'm a Rangers fan, but Radley's a Devils fan, and we kind of both picked the Rangers. I picked the Rangers in 6. Bradley picked the Rangers in 7, just based on experience and goaltending. I really think that's it. But the whole East is such a buzzsaw that putting up these odds here for the championship from DraftKings. The Bruins have the lowest odds. They're the favorite by like a pretty significant margin at plus 330. Then the Avalanche to repeat. That's really hard to do. I actually think that the Avalanche have taken a step back a bit in terms of goaltending. I know Georgiev quite well, and he's played well for the Avalanche. He really was frustrated being stuck behind Shesterkin because he's the kind of guy that needs a lot of reps. But I don't know if I trust him in terms of like being a I don't know. Say it's versus the Oilers. I think that could be really dicey for him.
And it just because I mean, and listen, credit to the Avalanche in the sense that they were able to at least get a kind of reliable backstop option and a good quality goalie in lieu of Darcy Kemper leaving in free agency.
Yeah,
but I agree with you in the sense that they've had a few people leave from that Cup team. Burakovsky,
Kadri too.
Kadri, Burakovsky are no longer there.
Yeah.
And the Oilers just, I mean, it's the kind of Planet Theory sort of like, if Connor McDavid is playing and he's playing well, there's not a whole lot you can do to stop him. It's just a matter if McDavid does McDavid stuff and his supporting cast can be there for him.
Well, that would be on a collision course. I mean, they're facing the Kings, so
yes, first round the Oilers are playing the Kings.
Have to get the Kings, get past the Kings, but I think they will. I mean, I would take the Oilers over the Avalanche in terms of like my second best odds.
I agree.
The Bruins do make total sense though to be first. The Leafs I would not take just based on history. The Hurricanes I would also not take because they've really struggled at the end of the year. You know how I think the Rangers. I think right now, as of now, if I were to bet, we're talking Bruins Rangers Eastern Conference final. But I'm not sure, and I would probably take the Bruins in that matchup, even though obviously my heart's elsewhere.
I don't think a terrible bet here is the Knights at plus 1400.
That's not a terrible bet either.
Just because it's a little bit of a long shot, but the Knights are a solid team. They're well coached. They're pretty like
they have Jack Eichel, who I believe in.
Right, and Eichel is kind of getting his first real taste of the playoffs, like
first playoff appearance
in an impactful game, like in impactful games. Like I don't know, I could definitely see them making some noise in the West.
I mean, even the Stars, because if we're talking about goaltending, Ottinger is
like a
out
revelation.
Of control.
Like a truly like
top 5 goalie
one
in the
of
league.
The best goalies I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Do you remember that game from I think it was last year's playoffs when I think they did ultimately lose, but he had like 50 saves.
He's amazing.
He's a machine. Like he's
totally. And he has a little bit more offensive firepower this year because Jason Robertson has really stepped up. I don't believe. I would say I think the Stars are a better bet to make the Stanley Cup Finals than to beat either of the teams coming out of the East. I think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If the Bruins or the Rangers make the finals, I think, I think there's three teams that have a legitimate shot to win the Stanley Cup: the Bruins, the Rangers, and the Oilers. That's how I feel right now.
Yeah, the Bruins are like almost seem like an inevitability just because of how good they've been playing. It's hard to even like really locate like a flaw within them, but I mean things can definitely come out in 7 games. And listen, we
apparently there's been a bug in the locker room, and Ullmark and Patrice Bergeron are questionable for tonight.
That, yeah.
So like
Ullmark being out is like that would be crazy.
Well, he's probably going to win the Vezina, even though, in my opinion, it should definitely go to Sorokin, or
Sorokin's playing so well.
I would give it to Hellebuck. I mean that's a whole lot. The one thing I put in terms of like my putting pause on the Knights hype is that I do actually think that of the top seeds of like the juggernaut teams, the Jets have the best chance to upset the Golden Knights, and it's really just because of Connor Hellebuck.
No, that's fair because he's kind of been like almost like
he's a top 5 goalie in the league too,
and he's sort of I think been the real linchpin for that team in terms of kind of if they can't score or if they're not, he can just basically keep them in a 1-0 game, 0-0 game because he's not letting anything past him.
But then I contradict myself because Mark Stone has been out for half of the year and he's finally coming back because the NHL has the dumbest rule of all time, which is that there's no salary cap in the playoffs. So what a surprise! Mark Stone's finally healthy in time for the playoffs. They're taking a page out of the Lightning's book, and that's literally how they won those pandemic era cups by keeping their guys on IR until the playoffs. The NHL needs to figure something out, or just raise the cap so people don't have to do this kind of stupid shit all the time.
Yeah,
They're
it's just
actually
literally
serious about winning.
It's literally
a championship.
For playoff roster construction. It literally just seems almost like bookkeeping magic.
Yes,
like here's Mark Stone. Hey guys,
the Rangers like having to play down like 3 players just to make cap room for Patrick Kane makes
So
no
stupid,
sense.
I know.
It's all because stupid teams like the Coyotes are keeping the cup down artificially.
Cheapskates and also
Yes.
can't make money
and aren't interested in winning.
Yeah.
But these teams are interested in winning. So I'm just going to go quickly through these first round matchups because I do think there's a lot of fascinating things. We mentioned the Rangers and Devils thing. That's really skill and experience versus speed and youth. I'm siding with the Rangers on that front if I'm going to guess. Now, the Hurricanes and the Islanders are kind of 2 teams that have a very similar identity. They're a defensively minded system, both defensive system teams, even though, Squirtle, a.k.a. like the former Islanders head coach Barry Trotz is no longer there. They still kind of have maintained that defensive identity, and they have Ilya Sorokin, who is playing like a top 3 goalie in the league. Like,
he's amazing. He's
the Hurricanes have goaltender issues, but they just have no weaknesses defensively on their lineup and are so fundamentally sound, and they have upside that the Islanders don't. But okay, I'm taking actually back what I said. The Islanders could definitely upset the Hurricanes because if Bo Horvat and Matt Barzal actually comes back for this series tonight, I haven't even checked if he is. Do you mind checking if he's coming back? That actually does give them an opportunity to go pound for pound with the Carolina Hurricanes on skill. Now, no one's picking the Islanders to beat the Hurricanes, but I'm just saying if there's going to be an upset, I'm taking back my Jets pick. I'm going with the Hurricanes getting upset by the Islanders, and the Hurricanes have kind of limped into the postseason.
So it looks like
I don't think they're winning the Stanley Cup at all. No chance, in my opinion, even though...
The Canes?
No chance.
Yeah.
They're a great regular season team, but we're seeing this every kind of season where they don't have the offensive firepower to compete in the playoffs. And they also are struggling with their goalie situation. So...
But Andrew Gross, who's the Islanders reporter for Newsday, Islanders coach Lane Lambert is confirmed that Barzal will be in the Game 1 lineup.
There you go. So that's another situation to that's like the opposite of the Stone return,
right.
Except like actually might switch the odds in the Islanders' favor.
And credit to former Devil tormentor himself, Lou Lamoriello. But Horvat was a great acquisition. I
mocked it at the time. Yeah.
Everyone wanted the Islanders to make a move. Everyone was pretty. By everyone, I mean kind of long-suffering / frustrated Islanders fans were like, please, let's make something happen. I think I remember a video of a fan in the stands yelling at Lou Lamoriello saying, sign Bo Horvat. Yeah. And ultimately he listened.
He did.
I agree. I totally agree with you. If Barzal comes back full strength, Horvat plays well, we get what we expect to get from Sorokin. I love Nathan McKinnon. I think Nathan McKinnon's a great player, but I think there's only so much one guy can do offensively when the rest of the identity is sort of predicated on not letting shots get into the goal as opposed to actually getting shots into the opposing goal. So
you mean for the Avalanche?
Oh my God, sorry. I thought who was it? I wasn't thinking about McKinnon. I was thinking of the wrong person. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
Yeah.
But or you're thinking of Sebastian Aho, maybe.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
Are Gabriel Landeskog and Nathan McKinnon both on the Avalanche?
I do not believe Landeskog is on the Avalanche.
So sometimes I get them confused, and also, funnily enough, you know that there are 2 Sebastian Ahos in the NHL.
Yes,
right?
I do.
Yeah,
and they're each on one's on the Islanders, the other's on the.
So that is also quite. That also puts my already sizzling brain in a knot.
Well, Landeskog is actually on IR, so that's that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, I do think I feel like what you're saying is making sense because of Sorokin, Barzal, and Horvat. I just think that's I feel like if they can be the best that they are, they'll win that series.
Yeah, I mean, yes. So I'm going with the Islanders. I'm gonna pick one upset, and I'll say the Islanders win that series against the Hurricanes. I'm just gonna go with it. Islanders. I like
it.
7.
I like the pick.
Islanders in 7, Rangers in 6 so far. Bruins versus Panthers. Even though the Bruins are dealing with the bug in the locker room, I'm gonna say gentleman sweep. Okay, 4-1.
Yeah, and it's a bummer because the
the Panthers are underachieving. I mean,
that's exactly right. It was they did such a great job even last year with, their interim head coach, who they ultimately didn't, retain, even though he was kind of the one who shepherded them into winning the President's Trophy and ultimately obviously not making it to the Stanley Cup. But they've just seemed kind of punchless this year. They have not had
both the
nearly
Flames
the magic that they had last year.
The Panthers and the Flames kind of had a blockbuster trade that doesn't usually happen in the NHL, and it hasn't worked out for either team really. The Panthers did squeak in, and they got the worst matchup possible.
Yep.
So I'm just moving past that. I think they win one, but that's it. That's what I'm going with.
The Bruins are just, especially for an underachieving Panthers team, the Bruins are going to run them over.
That's how I feel. But I think they win one, but that's it. The Leafs and the Lightning has been the foretold matchup for now like 7 months or something like that, because the Bruins have run away with the division. This is another reason why I hate this playoff format. Now, the Leafs is just like the curse. Are they going to be able to overcome it? And
against the Lightning again, who they've lost to in the playoffs before,
and the Lightning, who just are out of control, like experienced and sound and well coached.
They're the hockey warriors
with
in my
Cooper,
opinion.
yeah. And like it's hard to bet against Stamkos and Vasilevsky and Victor Hedman.
It's so hard. I know, exactly.
And their playoff experience, but at the same time, on paper, are the Leafs the better team? Yes, of course. But we've seen this so many times with the Leafs.
It is literally a tale as old as time. If
they haven't won a first round matchup in I forget.
Also,
since the mid 2000s.
It's not only that they haven't won; it's that they have somehow managed to lose these first round series either against the Lightning or the Bruins the same exact way, like 6 different times. They've gone up 3-0, they've gone up 3-1, and then they've lost 4-3. Like they have never in the last 8 years been able to maintain a 3-win lead in a series without squandering it 4 games in a row, basically.
But with that said, I am going to pick the Leafs in 7.
It's one of those things too where
and then they get smoked by the Bruins.
Totally, I agree. But it is one of those things where I could see that as well, because I do almost kind of think this is not only one of the best Leafs teams of this iteration in terms of the first round exit teams that have been sort of more hyped up than their actual results, but I think Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner are kind of Matthews is playing really
well, and I think that the Lightning are not playing that well. Stamkos is old,
and that's the thing though.
Vasilevsky's had kind of an off few months recently, so
the team is getting older. The Lightning team.
I think they finally win a first round playoff matchup, and that's that. Yeah. Although I'm probably going to eat my words, because I would never not put. I think this could go either way. But either way, I think they run into the buzzsaw that is the Bruins next time.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it for the East. Golden Knights versus the Jets. I mentioned this a second ago. Connor Hellebuyck is a star, but the Jets just don't have enough firepower, I think, to keep up with the Golden Knights, who, as I mentioned, get Mark Stone back conveniently in time for the playoffs. So with Stone and Eichel, it's just going to be really difficult. I don't think Scheifele, Dubois going to be able to do enough. Yeah. Same with Hellebuyck. So I'm going to go 4-1 Vegas Golden Knights win that matchup. And then the Stars versus the Wild is a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, I actually think that might be a pretty close one.
Yeah,
that'll be that's going to be a fun series of two fun young offensive minded players against each other. Kaprizov v Robertson is going to be awesome.
That's a good point. I mean, the Kaprizov is a very talented player, but the rest of the core offensively for the Wild is pretty old.
Totally.
I root for the Wild partially because I love that damn forest green. It's so pretty.
Oh, great jerseys. Amazing jerseys.
And I just have a real soft spot in my heart for Matt Zuccarello, obviously, as a Rangers fan. But I actually think that the Stars are going to win this matchup because of goaltending. They are the better team, and the Wild are not as complete of a roster as the Dallas Stars.
I actually think the Stars, as currently constructed, are actually a pretty good roster.
I know.
I think, as we were saying, Ottinger in goal is a really, really great asset to have. Robertson is one of the most exciting young offensive players and goal scorers. They have one of my all at name first team candidates in Rupe Hiltz.
That's very good.
I love him.
And we people, I mean, forget
and Joe
that.
Pavelski.
Yeah, Jamie Benn and Sagan are getting
Tyler
older,
Seguin.
but they do add a lot of depth to the team that makes them like much more complete.
Right, I think they're
And they have
depth
Max
piece-
Domi as well.
Oh my gosh, I totally even forgot about that. But as you said, with Ben Sagan and Pavelski, they are older, but I think they honestly, for what they're asked to do in their roles, they're still really, really good players. Like
Yeah.
Pavelski is still, even after a decade plus with the Sharks, has now kind of carved out an elder statesman role on the Stars, where he's sort of just like a conduit and a passing hub for the younger scorers. And I think he does a really great job at it. And he's still pretty capable for being like, I would have to guess he's probably 38 now.
Yeah,
or
he
something
is
like
older.
that.
Yeah.
And Ben and Sagan, former young stars themselves, and now kind of matured into veteran presences. I like the Stars team. I think
I like that they have veteran depth and then also a great goaltender.
Totally.
Like that's more
It's a
than I
gr-
can say that unfortunately the Wild have. They have a really exciting lineup, but not necessarily one that I think is like gonna make it out of this round. So I'm gonna say 4-2 Stars.
I think that's a good call, and that's the thing that's so crucial. I think in hockey playoffs. I mean, in any playoffs, but truly, I think hockey playoffs for sure. Given how grueling it can be, you just need depth.
Yes.
Like one big characterization besides great play from Vasilevsky, great play from Stamkos, great play from Hedman, is just how deep those cup-winning Lightning teams were.
Yep.
All the way down the lineup, there's just solid, good grade starters.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree. So I think the Stars move on. Oilers versus Kings. I think the Oilers win in 6. I mean, we already kind of touched on it, but Connor McDavid put 153 points on the board this season.
He's just on an
He's
unprecedented
the greatest
heater.
hockey player of all time.
I think he's already cemented it,
Okay?
honestly.
Like we're not people are not fully getting what we're seeing right now. Better than Sidney Crosby, and yes, better than Wayne Gretzky. Connor McDavid is the greatest hockey player ever.
60 plus goals and over 150 points. That is unbelievable. Also, the other thing too is honestly just like
just watch him, and you know what
I
I'm
was
saying.
just gonna say. It's like I sometimes hate being reductive and being like, it's the eye test. But the reason why I say that is like you watch McDavid on the ice. And the way he accelerates, the way he can skate, his craftiness with the stick, and what he can, and how he can deke and maneuver and fool goalies in misdirections and things like that. He looks like a man playing amongst children sometimes.
Yep.
He just fundamentally looks like a guy playing almost a different sport.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Like, it's hard to bet against that. It just is until the team maybe lets him down, but he's the guy to beat.
But this
is
the
not.
best team they've had around him in a little while, and I just think that the Kings are not there yet. They are a good and up and coming team. I know that they're still trying to eventually get Quentin Byfield into the lineup. They have a lot of upside, but they don't have the star power right now that the Oilers do. And the Oilers have been playing really hot towards the end of the year. So I see the Oilers winning, and I actually think the Oilers are going to win the West. And that makes for a very interesting finals. I hope that they... I mean, it depends on who's facing them, but I hope that they do. And lastly, the Avalanche versus the Kraken. The Kraken are a sound team, but they don't have the scoring to keep up with the Avs.
I'm also just happy they made it.
Me too.
That's so fun. That's just good for them. Like first
and I love
season,
Matty Beniers.
Yeah, Beniers is amazing. He's such a fun player to watch.
He's gonna be like the center for that team for the foreseeable future.
Shane Wright.
And I just love I mean, Shane Wright's not playing yet, but once he gets in that lineup, then they have one 1C and 2C. That's going to be so exciting.
Totally.
So I hope the Kraken do well, but I see the Avs winning 4-2.
Yeah, I think the Avs will take it pretty easily just because, again, literally they're just coming off, winning the cup themselves. Kraken are a pretty new young team. Nice for them to make it probably a little bit ahead of schedule. And as you said, I mean, the ceiling for a Matty Beniers, Shane Wright led team going to be unreal. Once these are kids playing hockey.
Oh
now,
yeah,
and they're already exciting. Like they're already fun to think about in that way. So in terms of like their pairing together. It could be so explosive and dynamic. But my thinking, yeah, probably if I would say for both for Western Conference Finals pick, is it because I always forget with these brackets. Is it hard? Is it
Well,
possible to pick Oilers Stars? Or will they face each
I
other
need to
too
check out
early?
the bracket.
Yeah.
Because I think it might depend given the
Yeah,
fact
on
that the Stars, I believe are facing a wild card
Oh.
team. Hold on one second. Do 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 do. Oh God, totally put me on the spot. You,
Huh.
damn it. NHL bracket. Come on. Come on. It might be yeah, so if the Stars win, it's gonna be either the Avs or the Kraken. So it would be
Yeah, they can do it. It could be Stars Oilers.
it could be. It could be
Because it would
Stars
be
Oilers.
so it would be Stars Wild plays whoever wins Avs Kraken, Knights Jets plays whoever is Oilers Kings.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm gonna go. I agree with you. Oilers Stars, or Oilers Knights. Or Stars Knights. I could see.
Uh-huh.
Could be really interesting to have
Yeah, I
a
think
Knights Oilers matchup.
Yeah, but both would be, I think, fun. Knights Oilers or Oilers Stars would be really,
But
really
I do think
cool.
the Stars are the best team out of the Avalanche, Kraken.
Yeah, I agree.
I love Nathan McKinnon, but I don't think that the Avalanche are in the same space that they were.
No, I think they're kind of that team. I almost think that team was sort of they were kind of like a juggernaut and sort of destined to win that Stanley Cup last year, in my opinion. And I think it was also hinging upon a few people who are no longer with them.
Yeah.
Like you said, Kadri, Burakovsky, Darcy Kemper, like they're a bit of a different team.
Yep.
They're not the exact like the Lightning. I think at least when they had their 3 cups, they had a lot of roster consistency.
I'm doing Oilers versus Stars, Bruins versus Rangers in the Western Conference.
Yeah,
and Eastern Conference.
yeah, I think I'm gonna do. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I don't see. I don't see the Hurricanes or the Islanders having, and like I said, as much of course I'd be ecstatic if the Devils won, but I think the Rangers will win that, and I don't think the Bruins are going to have much trouble getting past either the Leafs or this iteration of the Lightning. So I would say probably Rangers Bruins and maybe Bruins Stars is my Stanley Cup prediction with the Bruins winning.
I think if I were to bet like gun to my head, I would think the Bruins beat the Rangers. But at the same time, if that's the matchup in the Eastern Conference, that is a team that's much more defensively oriented versus the Rangers, but they're more balanced. Like the balance of what the Bruins have going is unrivaled, and they're
insane.
just playing at another level right now.
And talk about depth too in the sense of like who can score for that team when they're at full strength. I mean, like Marchand is still, despite being such a nuisance, a incredible hockey player.
Incredible.
Charlie McAvoy's been playing super well this year. Olmark in goalie, basically kind of really not a whole lot of drop off in sense of like. Tuukka Rask into Linus Olmark is like crazy level of goalie continuity, and to say nothing of freaking Patrice Bergeron and some of the other other legends that are still on that team. Like it's really amazing to see how not only like deep and successful they've been, but how like efficient they've been.
Yeah.
I mean, they just basically marched to like 63 wins.
Yeah.
To record-breaking, success. So we'll see.
We will revisit this next week. But
Yeah,
that,
for sure.
as of now, is what we're looking at. So
Totally. I'm so excited though. Even just looking at this bracket,
it's all I'm gonna do tonight.
every one of these matchups to me is like sort of exciting and interesting in their own way. Even like the wild card one. So I'm just so happy. I'm pumped for it to get started.
Me too.
This is the renaissance of sports for me when baseball, hockey playoffs, and basketball playoffs are all happening.
Oh, coalesce, and we have the NFL draft coming up.
And the draft. We're eating good. We're living.
Oh, baby. All right, guys. One quick story, and then we're gonna get out of here. So Jalen Hurts has signed an extension with the Philadelphia Eagles. They got it done. They did not make it as dramatic as they possibly could have, which is like what's happening with the Baltimore
Yeah,
Ravens.
thank God, right?
I mean, the fact that they did this ahead of Burrow is maybe a little concerning for Burrow in his negotiations with the Bengals because Burrow should be getting paid more than Jalen Hurts. He will.
Interesting that this is the contract slash the quarterback to sort of kind of be the tone setter
Oh,
for the
yeah.
market going into like we said Burrow Bengals extension, the Herbert Chargers extension.
Yup.
Kind of interesting.
Same year, but Hurts was drafted in the second
Right,
round.
right. So his money was a little bit less scary, like to begin with, in terms of
They
the
don't
rookie
have the
contract.
5th-year option.
Right. Oh yes. No 5th-year option. Also, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Hurts was taken in the second round, in the 2020 draft, and yeah, Burrow, Herbert taken 1 and 6 overall, respectively, in that draft. And what Hurts has done here is he's essentially set a new bar for the quarterback market. 5-year extension.
Right.
He'll be with the Eagles through 2028. And they got it done. $255 million, nearly $180 million guaranteed. Good for him. Everything you hear about Jalen Hurts is that he's literally the best dude in the world. I get that vibe from him. He's a worker.
Yeah, just like he just in his press conferences and
He's
how
a
he seems
leader.
to how he seems to lead in the huddle on the side. I know this is like intangible stuff, but of course on the field too. But he just does seem like a consummate like professional leader, competitor, athlete, and what I find so impressive about him is
his improvement.
The growth that he has been able to show as a player is immense for
He
someone.
proved me wrong.
100%.
I mean,
as well. I did not think that he'd be
The
this
passer
good.
that he could be.
Yeah, this
Yes.
good at this, in his third year as a second round pick, leading his team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like as one of the biggest focal points, both through the air and on the ground. I mean, I totally see why the Eagles would want to reward him, but also lock him down to kind of be the leader of the future for the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, there's a part of me as a Giants fan that's a little happy about this. Like, I mean, the Eagles had the best team in the NFL
Totally.
last year, so it was pretty easy to have success. But I kind of ate my words when Minshew came in and looked pretty bad. He had that decent game against the Cowboys, and then he had that other game where he looked just pretty terrible, and the Eagles lost both when
I think it
Hurts
just
was
sort
out
of
with that shoulder issue.
That sort of I think proved a little bit that Hurts's rushing element is so crucial to the offensive success in every capacity for them. Just having the gravity it creates for him to have the threat of Hurts's running ability, I think opens up everything else for them.
Well, that's why they got Mariota in the offseason,
Right,
because why the Eagles are such a smartly run organization is that they go, okay, we're going to make sure that our backup has a similar,
can mirror
comparable skill
Hurts
set.
a little bit.
So we don't have to
Totally.
change our whole playbook. I mean, that was part of their issue. And like Hurts is everything you want off the field. He's everything you want in the meeting room. He's really smart. He's incredibly coachable. He is going to win you a press conference. He is a leader in every sense of the word. Do I still have my doubts about him as an elite passer? I do.
Yeah, which honestly I think is
So that's the part where I'm happy as a Giants fan, where like I like the guy and I want him to get his money. And do I think there's a chance that this ages badly for the Eagles? I do. At the same time, betting against this front office is a bad idea because Howie Roseman knows what the hell he's doing.
Yeah, and he's
I
basically
don't know what I'm talking
right,
about.
and he's against.
Or I'm not in the room. I can see what I'm. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I can see on the field that Jalen Hurts is not the passer that Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. He's not the same. Those 5 guys are better passers than Jalen Hurts. But Jalen Hurts has those other qualities that maybe I underestimate being outside of the locker room, not seeing him in the meeting room, maybe not seeing like how they draw game plans in association with his skill set that I can maybe take a little bit
And I
for
think
granted.
crucially, I think the marriage is also important too, in the sense of it's this long-term extension for a lot. It's super lucrative for a team that I think clearly, both in their coaching staff and their front office, know his strengths, know his ability to improve and to work to improve, and know already sort of how to build around him and build around him successfully. And it's not, and I also don't necessarily even think this model of team building is unsustainable, because Howie Roseman has proved time and time again that he's been able to sustain it. He has been able to kind of resuscitate some of these more middling Eagles teams for 15 years now, basically.
Yeah. And even when they've missed on massive picks, like when they didn't take Justin Jefferson and ended up taking Jalen Reagor.
Yeah.
Like, that should have been a huge, that for any other team that was less intelligent about how they build their organization, that would have set that franchise back a significant year.
But then, for example, you make up for it in the sense of you find Dallas Goedert in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
You find Jordan Mailata, a former rugby player who was just an athlete, not even a football player, in the 7th round, and he's your foundational left tackle.
And next draft, you're like, okay, correcting our mistake, we're gonna trade up with our rival, the Dallas Cowboys, ahead 1 pick of the New York Giants, who were definitely going to take Devontae Smith.
Get Devontae Smith.
The year that we were gonna just sit there, take Devontae Smith at 11 or 12, I forget exactly, and then the Eagles traded up, and that undercut the Giants. Then they traded down, got that extra 1st rounder. The Bears took Justin Fields. The Giants took Kadarius Toney. Another pretty terrible trade for the. But we ended up getting Kayvon Thibodeau out of it.
Right.
So yeah.
But I think what's interesting about that is, of course, when we're talking about that stuff on draft night or whatever, it's hard to see necessarily the long-term outcome for any of those teams involved in a trade like that. But I think what's important for what the Eagles do is that Howie Roseman takes these bets, and what's amazing about, he's willing to take these risks, and these risks have also paid off.
And you know why this?
And the A.J. Brown trade too. I mean, even
A.J.
that.
Brown, yeah. In the end, I think this Jalen Hurts contract is going to pay off, because we're about to see a cap explosion. It's the same reason that
too, of course,
I said, like, everyone needs to shut the hell up about this Daniel Jones contract. It's a 2-year deal worth $40 million essentially, and then they can cut bait. Like, the cap's about to explode, and that's going to look like nothing. And Burrow is about to exceed Jalen Hurts, because Burrow has now gone to back-to-back AFC championships, winning one of them, going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think Jalen Hurts will be the highest paid QB for long once the Herbert and Burrow get those extensions.
It should go Herbert next, and then Burrow number one. I mean, that's how it is, and that's how they are. Those two guys are better than Jalen Hurts. But what a draft! I mean, seriously.
I mean, for quarterbacks, really unbelievable. Like three franchise altering quarterbacks, I'd say.
Yeah.
If the Chargers know what's good for them, he'll be a franchise altering quarterback.
Well,
if they could just maybe figure some stuff out.
But what does this mean for Lamar Jackson? That's the one thing.
Yeah, and
I mean, this just goes to show that Lamar really made a huge mistake. Not taking that contract that was offered to him.
It's
he was
just
offered similar money, and
really disappointing,
dude. We're not talking about a contract negotiation with a guy. This is what bothers me, okay?
Yeah.
I want Lamar to get his money. But
Agreed.
If Lamar gets $180 million guaranteed versus $190 million guaranteed, I don't really think that affects his family too much. Every player should get what they can. But Lamar is not working with an agent. And so the finer gradations of a contract negotiation, he's not going to be able to, like, have the same playbook that he can go by that an agent would, where he's like, okay, I know which points to hit, I know who to contact on this, X, Y, and Z. I just want Lamar to get something over 150, 160 mil guaranteed, because he really plays the position in such an incredible way that deserves compensation, and he really I wish he'd just hire an agent or just take the next really good deal that he gets.
And as we've said, the issue here is, like, it's two things. One, we've talked a lot about how we obviously can't know this for sure, but like in terms of just understanding the dynamic between a management or the front office, the owner/ownership group, an agent, and the player, is that the agent kind of serves almost as like a shield for the player, in that they can be the representative for their interests, and they can hash out those conversations and negotiations without the player being directly involved and having to kind of be the face of that, and the face of what could potentially be, frustration and resentment that these talks are taking way longer than they'd hoped they'd take for both sides of this agreement, for both Lamar's camp and John Harbaugh, Eric DaCosta, the owners of the Ravens. And with that, I can only imagine that the Ravens brass probably see how kind of seamless and quick and sort of just like tidily this Hurts announcement came and went, and are probably thinking, be nice if we had that.
Yeah, right.
And of course, I think OBJ signing with the Ravens. He did obviously telegraph that he said that they, not as if there was a complete guarantee that Lamar would be returning, but I do think that probably sites point towards Lamar returning as a result of that signing.
Hope so.
But I just think it can only sour more as more time goes on, regardless of whether there's actually a resolution at the end of this. I just think it'll be hard to forget that it took this long for either end.
Right.
I think ultimately it does get done. I do think he returns to the Ravens, honestly.
Only on a 1-year deal. I don't think he's.
But I think unfortunately, because it's taken this long, because there's been so much rancor, because there's been so much time between the sides here, I don't necessarily think this will just go away. That the feelings from this will just dissipate, especially if it's a 1-year deal.
Yeah. Skippy. Well, the Ravens really have an opportunity to win the Super Bowl, but that's why I just hope he doesn't stay away. But anyway, Skippy, happy birthday, Emma. Is MR and ESVN fans appreciate you? Thank you. Tom Lofink, happy Monday. Happy birthday for tomorrow, Emma. I'm hoping to call in about some of the wild stuff happening in rugby at the moment. I need to work out which team I'm going to accidentally turn you into a fan of, Emma. I managed to accidentally turn Bradley into a Harlequins fan. Ooh. J-Man Raps, if Colorado is healthy, they would win the West again easily. Also, I got Tampa beating the Leafs in 7 LMAO. I mean, that would be hilarious. Antifa Lockhart, if the Devils win, Emma should have to get a Kane Rangers jersey. There's no avoiding the Kane curse. Oh my god. What should we do? J-Man Raps, Emma the Czar versus Bradley the King. Devils Rangers, don't miss it, folks. Anyway, great sports. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, J-Man Raps. I'm trying to find a good... loser has to wear a Pete 2024 shirt for an entire episode.
Or we could do face paint.
We'll think about it. I
could face paint. I could do a Rangers face paint, or you'll have to do like really like thick devil. Like you have to like dress up like a demon. Like
the New Jersey Devil.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. With like
Noah from Tampa.
Eyebrows.
There's a hockey team called the Kraken. Are they all individually Kraken, or do you collectively make up one Kraken? Yeah, I mean like that is the question. I don't love the name Kraken. I know that it's
one of those singular plurals.
It like really is. It's not for me, but I do like the branding around the Kraken. I love that it's related to the sea and Seattle and that. Yeah,
also it's a cool logo.
And the logo's cool, but it's not for me. Antifa Lockhart. Also, those losers beat Pittsburgh to finish only in third to last. I'm ready for the double Chicago first overall. Yeah, that's unfortunately your guys' own fault, Pittsburgh, because you could have won and you would have won and you would have been in, and they choked massively. We will think about a punishment, but for now, I'm gonna wrap up here, and I'm gonna enjoy my birthday tomorrow, and that is that. Appreciate you all. We will see you on Monday.
Bye bye.